Space nerds, hello, welcome in. I'm a little bit late with this one. This week in Star Citizen, there are some things happening, and I've got some context to share with you about it. You've probably got the news, but let me tell you a little more about what's going on. Now, we're going to start with what happened last week and then get to kind of what's going on this week, which has some teasers about what's coming up in the following week and the week after that. Let's jump in. First, they mentioned that Alpha 4.72 rolled out last week, bringing even more life to the growing Nyx system with nearly 100 new contracts across 13 mission archetypes. There's plenty to keep you busy whether you're getting started in Nyx or expanding your usual routes. We're aware of issues currently affecting the availability of some courier missions, and the teams are actively working on a solution. As always, we appreciate your reports and feedback. Can confirm I have heard there are problems with the courier missions, but I also can confirm that I was able to get them working this morning. I've got some gameplay coming to you guys sometime soon. I don't know. I'm recording all this on Monday. We're out of town if you're seeing this, but you guys should be able to access these this week. I was able to run one and I got access to many more after that, so I would keep an eye out. They also mentioned a new roadmap update, with Alpha 4.8 continuing to take shape and Evocati already testing early content as we prepare the first PTU waves. Two interesting things that have come out of Evocati in the last couple days. The F8A, I believe people were saying, is currently available for folks who have it. Maybe it's F8A, I'm pretty sure, which is kind of nuts. The Javelin is also showing up in Evocati. While it doesn't seem like it's actually meant to be in the update, players who have it are able to spawn their own. I actually saw a post from my man the Darklaw said that he has had this ship for over 12 years and he finally actually saw it in game. It's not a big deal. Like I said, it's probably not supposed to happen, but like a lot of stuff that's been happening in Star Citizen lately, there's like a lot of this old time stuff people have been waiting for that's actually starting to come to fruition. This is just another one of those things. Highlights also, though, include new gear like the Ultiflex Novia crossbow, which we've gone over. New plasma grenades. Interestingly enough, it sounds like these are detonate on contact and they have a damage to area effect over time, so that'll be interesting to see. The Aegis Hammerhead Gold Standard Pass, which I believe is going to be joined by some other kind of mystery Aegis ship, a shark with laser beams as Jarrett calls it. We'll see. Expanded refueling gameplay and missions. I haven't seen that. New transport system is pretty monumental. Ship hangar service is a good one, and new hairstyles and flight suits. New tactical strike groups. New cooperative ship combat. There's a lot. A whole bunch going on. Evocati today was just taking a look at the new item recovery stuff. I will have a video out about this for you guys that talks a little more about the details here, but item recovery is taking its step forward from tier 0. Now, this doesn't necessarily include all of our items like expected. It's first going to target ships, but it does mean if you are flying your ship out there and you've got a bunch of aftermarket stuff on it, you can technically register or insure that stuff so that when your ship blows up, it comes back with that stuff on it. Thing is, that's going to cost you a lot of money. So it's got a knock-on effect of people now are going to be terrified to take out their expensive loadouts because that costs a lot of money to replace. But it also means that you're going to be able to find stuff now and use it. And while there is going to be some bricking gameplay here where people can brick an item so it can't be used after 5 minutes of the brick time, it does still mean that we're back to being able to steal stuff. And if it doesn't get bricked, you can use it. If it does get bricked, I believe you can still store it. Bricked ships will not be automatically removed, allowing you to still store them and call them back up if they had cargo. So if you like stole a ship, you found a ship with something in it and it had cargo, you can still take that for your own. So again, a lot more details in that. Just this is what's going on in Evocati right now. It's a lot. People are also saying that it's possible this includes items that were stored on your ship, so weapons in the weapon rack and like water and stuff. If that's the case, we are actually taking a step into an era where people are going to start living off their spaceships in 4.8. But we'll see if that's the case. This is still early days of Evocati. I'm just getting you the news. Following up, over the weekend, their team had an incredible time hosting a booth on the Level Up Expo show floor where thousands of employees stopped by to try their hand at spaceflight, surrounded by a lively mix of cosplay, gameplay, and non-stop giveaways, and non-stop energy. For many, it was their very first time in the verse, and getting to witness those initial reactions firsthand is always a good treat for us. We went in expecting our community to show up in force, so we designed the space to feel like a hybrid hangout. Part expo booth, part social hub, complete with beanbag chairs and room to hang out. Hopefully also some tanks of hopium so people can stay on the supply. I loved seeing Master Chief out there. That was sick. This is actually a pretty big booth. It got pretty good attention. And I'm not going to lie, guys. I do think that this is a fairly significant thing happening here. And the biggest way this looks significant, the easiest thing to point at, is this. Now, I don't know who Esfand is. Thank you to Undoing Slayer for getting this video onto YouTube. Esfand is, I guess, a pretty big streamer from the World of Warcraft area of things. He got Best Role-Playing Streamer in Streamer Awards 2024. I think that's a big deal. Thank the Academy. But he went and found this place. Somebody actually said they paid him to come to the booth to check this out. But he went with his friend, and they came to the booth to check it out, and they've got a pretty big audience. And I think this really shows how going to these conventions and having this sort of low, like, no, I don't want to say low key. Like, look at this booth. Look at how freaking big this booth is. They've got a lot of setups. They've got a big presence. If you don't know what Star Citizen is and you see this, chances are you're going to get curious. If you do know what Star Citizen is and you've heard things about it, right? And you see this, you're probably also still going to be like, wait, this is the scam, right? This is like Free Flies plus. Yeah, Free Fly is so that people will just try it at least and see that it's not completely down in a dumpster fire. This is the next step. Now they're bringing it to the people. Clearly, they feel like the experience is in a place where they both want to and need to get it in front of folks. I think this is in planning for Squadron 42, but I also think this is just in general, they want to start getting more word of mouth out from people like this guy, these big streamers, from just like passerbys, from the people who are in these chats and seeing this stuff happen. They're getting a walkthrough from employees while they're doing an interview with the community manager, and all the while people are walking by and seeing it. This is how you start to break through that reputation that is formed. And I'm not sure if it's going to work, but it's clearly part of a big push that CIG is making, from trying to stop their concept sales to cleaning up their website. They have gotten their starter packages in order. To the starting price is now $60. Squadron 42 website's getting cleaned up. They're clearly getting ready for much more public-facing campaigning. So I think this was an interesting thing that happened. I have a video coming out where we watch some of this, but if you want, I would check out the either Esfand's stream, I'm guessing, or Undoing Slayer's unlisted video here. That was pretty cool. That was exciting. But there was also a little bit of other news that came out. Let's see, what else did I miss here? There's CLX Gaming PC giveaway still running until May 4th. Huge shout out to the United Danes Initiative. Good job, guys. A grassroots collective spanning multiple orgs who organized and ran a community booth at Gamesbox Festival. That's pretty sick in Denmark. Good for y'all. I think there was a picture here about that. Yeah. Here we go, Bar Citizen in Denmark. So, the other thing that happened last week in Star Citizen was actually a pretty big member of the Star Citizen community departed. So he put out a tweet here. Brian Chambers said, after 11 amazing years at CIG, it's time for me to step aside and watch from the sidelines. From starting a studio in Frankfurt to helping run a dev team of 800 plus across 5 separate time zones, it's been both challenging and incredibly rewarding. Time for an overdue break. Then I'll determine what's next. Let me know if anyone has any projects they want help with, a new studio they want to start, or ... Be like, hey, dude, I heard about this sick game, Squadron 42, that might... Squadron 43, that might need your help. So, a lot of speculation around why he's leaving. I'm not going to get super deep into it here because we have a video coming out about that, and it's no point in doubling the content like that. But I will say this. This guy is known, and he's been here a while. He was part of the original team from Crytek who helped build and make the CryEngine work, who came over to Star Citizen and built the Star Engine off of the CryEngine. They opened the Frankfurt studio almost entirely because of this. They opened it because they got a lot of devs from Crytek back in like 2014-ish time. And that's really where a lot of Star Citizen came from, to be honest, was this studio. And he ran it. So big guy, big name. Honestly, pretty sad to see him go. I really would have loved to have met him, but I super appreciate everything he's done for the project. Here's a little look at what he used to do. in terms of reports for his studio.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian Chambers, Development Director of Foundry 42 Frankfurt office. Since our last studio update, team's grown by a few people. Putting us currently at 79 people strong. The end of last year was a big coordinated global effort to get 3.0 out to everyone, as well as wrapping up bits for the end of the year Squadron 42 vertical slice playthrough. The team then took a couple weeks off for the holidays, and everyone came back recharged and ready to focus on their next tasks. Once back, the first of the year involved a large amount of scheduling and planning across most all disciplines, laying out the plans to distribute work amongst the various offices in the most efficient way possible. Since January was a lighter than usual month in regards to work time due to the holidays,
as always,
this update will include some items from the previous update, but with a bit more detail and visuals to accompany them.
So this is how generally inside Star Citizen used to be. They called it around the verse back then. A studio head would come on camera, give the whole update about what they had been working on, what their whole studio had been working on. But you can see here, dude was significant. He was making the whole report for a pretty major studio at Star Citizen. So the fact that he's now departing is an interesting time. And like I said, we're not going to get into speculation, but yeah, we've been talking about signs of Squadron 42 possibly coming out. This could be another one. Now let's move on to what's going on this week. That's why it's like 10 minutes in. That's why we came, right? This Wednesday, they're going to be sharing a few details about the upcoming Defense Con to help prepare for the festivities. He said, you may have already caught the recent SSN Cat V newsflash interviewing Drake Interplanetary CEO Andon Arden, offering a glimpse of what's to come this year. We watched that, and it was pretty solid. It was pretty cool. We're obviously going to get something more here on Wednesday. I will be out of town for that, but I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe it'll be something about attack. One of the things that they showed us during that video was that Gattack was going to have a new concept. Here are some of the concepts we've seen from them. Don't know if these are going to be the ones they deliver, but these are the ones that I'm hoping they deliver.
We did our usual. We came up with 3 sort of strong candidates to give to Chris to have a look at. And from there, people will see that very early on, it was almost locked in. It was like, okay, this is what we're doing.
So these are the old concepts from the Gattack Raylan. A lot of times they'll dip into old concepts to make new ships. You can actually see the Sulan here on the old work for this ship right here. So maybe we'll see something like this, maybe not. But I wanted to show you guys what we actually know they've done. Next up on the docket is Friday. RSI newsletter lands in your inbox. If you're not subscribed yet, you can sign up at any time through your account settings. Looking ahead to the weekend, this is an interesting one. We're excited to join a Bar Citizen event taking place in Xi'an, China. I don't know how to feel about that. I thought the Xi'an were going to be in Squadron 42 first. This year's theme is a friendly visit between the UAE and Xi'an, setting the stage for a unique celebration, bringing cultures together. If you're in the area, head over to the Kaohsiung International Conference Center on Saturday, May 2nd to meet fellow citizens, our developers, and take part in the festivities. Okay, we usually get some pretty interesting information from this. Last year, they did a secret Bar Citizen. A little sneaky, a little stealthy. And this actually came out, shout out to Starjump for making this possible. This actually came out before basically anybody else around the world knew it was happening. And I think this has happened twice now. Both times they didn't really actually tell us it was happening, and I think it rubbed people a little bit of a wrong way. I think they were trying to make the Chinese market feel like they were getting some kind of content that was made for them. Usually we get some pretty interesting information out of this, and I appreciate that this time they actually have given us the chance to ask our own questions. If you go back to Spectrum, they actually did make a post here on April 9th that they were going to be doing this, and they asked for questions from us. They didn't really do this before, so we should get some more pointed answers out of this, but to be quite honest, if you go back and look at some of the notes we gotten, thank you, shout out to Danny Hater, Leaks Guy. He actually summarized a lot of the notes that we had seen last year that included things like how group bed logging would work, or what's going on with the Polaris, Gold Standard and the updates that includes, how Star Citizen 1.0 is actually going to work. This is stuff that comes from people like Aaron and Chris Roberts, so usually they're pretty substantial answers. Maybe it's the kind of thing we can go over before the next one comes out, but I would keep an eye out. I think we're going to hear some good information from this. Obviously, along with Invictus Week, has got a lot of stuff coming there, and just in general, like I said, dude, it really seems like they're starting to pick things up and trying at least to get more regular people, we'll call them the normies, to see at least what Star Citizen and Squadron 42 are, and that they are filled with normal people who do normal things, and it's not like some crazy weird psyop that you have to sign up for. We'll see if they're successful with that. Either way, there's your weekly news. See you in the next one.